I was at the America First Policy Summit, where I was able to catch up with Chief Communications Officer of the America First Policy Institute, Mark Lauder. Here's a look at our conversation. Mark Lauder, thank you so much for taking a moment to join us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Mark, we're here at the American First Policy Institute Summit. Tell us, what is the main goal here?
I think the main goal is really just putting down the vision, laying down the marker of what it's going to take to get America back, and providing that information to office holders and candidates at every level, whether you're running for State House all the way up to the White House. We know these policies worked. They worked just a few years ago. And when you look at what's going on in America right now, from gas prices and inflation and crime in our cities, parents being told they have no business of knowing what's going on in their child's schools, that's not America. And so when we lay out this vision, and we think when candidates at all levels get behind it, A, they're going to win, but B, more importantly, we're going to get our country back and get it back on the right track.
Who are some of the guests that you guys have here speaking today?
It's a who's who, really. We've got 9 former cabinet level officials from the Trump administration, 9 White House senior staff members, 23 members of Congress. We've even got the leadership in terms of, right now, I think you've got former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich going on stage. We've got House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy tomorrow. It's really just a who's who, and we're going to break down each of these 10 key policy areas that we think need to be focused on. You're going to have a cabinet level or senior level Trump administration official with members of Congress, state elected officials, talking about how we get our country back.
The former president's also going to be here tomorrow. What is the significance of him coming back to Washington, D.C. for the first time?
I think it's important that for the first time since he's left office, that he's coming back to D.C. to put his voice behind the work that's being done here at the America First Policy Institute. He was the visionary behind so many of these policies, and we saw them work when they were in action. Now we've got the exact opposite. So for him to come out and lay that future out. So whether you're running for Congress, State House, obviously the presidential campaign will take care of itself. But when you see that these are the policies that Donald Trump is getting behind, and he's laying the future out for a better America where we're looking out for American workers, American companies, and also getting back to that peace through strength that served our nation so well for so many decades. It's important, and I think it really is going to set the stage for a America First majority in Congress next year, and then we'll take it all the way through the White House in 2025.
If you could, what are some of the key issues you think are driving or will drive the midterm elections?
Well, first, second, and third is the economy. It's people's paychecks. It's them driving by a gas station and some of them having to choose between putting gas in their car and paying for air conditioning. It shouldn't have to be that way in America. We shouldn't have Americans driving around store to store and gas they can't afford, looking for products they can't afford or can't find. That's not the America that we know, but we can get back to it. And so it's going to be the economy. It's going to be putting law and order back into our communities. It's going to be giving parents a voice in their child's education and their schools, securing the southern border, of course. But these are the things that really resonate with the American people. And contrary to what you think, from the mainstream media, they only want to focus on one thing. That's not what the American people want. And I think that's why we're seeing such a disconnect between the needs and the wants of America and what the American people are being force-fed by the liberal media.
Mark Lauder, thank you.
Thank you.
President Biden held a virtual meeting with CEOs and labor leaders to discuss the importance of passing the CHIPS Act. The Senate bill expected to pass this week, providing tens of billions of dollars in subsidies and tax credits for the semiconductor industry. That would increase production of computer chips here in America, reducing the nation's dependence on China and Taiwan.
We're here today to talk about the importance of passing the CHIPS for America Act to strengthen our national and economic security.
Bill supporters say the bill will make the U.S. more competitive globally. Chip production is also a national security issue. Senator Marco Rubio said the bill would help communist China unless it was amended. Rubio filed 3 amendments to correct what he calls critical errors and omissions. House leaders say they intend to take up the bill as soon as it is ready. Members of the January 6th Select Committee say they're prepared to subpoena the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. Ginny Thomas will be called to testify about her role on that chaotic day. And if she doesn't come voluntarily, she'll be the latest high-profile conservative to be served with a court order. The committee made this announcement just days after a D.C. court convicted Steve Bannon of contempt of Congress for not testifying. NTD's Melina Wisecup spoke to Congressman Byron Donalds to discuss.
All right, I'm here with Congressman Byron Donalds. Thank you for sparing the time to talk with us today.
Of course, great to be here.
Okay, Congressman, I have to ask you about Steve Bannon's trial. The D.C. court just convicted him, and he said that the GOP should start their own investigations into the January 6th happenings. What would you say to that?
I totally agree. I think one of the things that we've already started to do this, we've asked the January 6th committee to maintain all their documents, all their records, all their text messages. Because let's be honest, the January 6th committee is a political show trial to get Donald Trump. That's number one. Number two, they have been leaking to the press, coordinating with the press for maximum effect. We already know that as well. Look, the members are sitting there reading the teleprompter as they do their little questions and whatnot. So this is all pre-produced. This is all pre-planned. There is no actual investigation happening here. This is about getting Donald Trump once and for all. So I think we have to investigate that, but also we have to continue to actually investigate January 6th. The one piece of information we still don't know. There were two oversight hearings last summer before Nancy Pelosi shut down the oversight committee, which I sit on, that was going into January 6th. One piece of information we still don't have is what did the Capitol Police do with the intel report that was sent to them by FBI, I believe it was a week before January 6th. We still don't know what the Capitol Police did with that intel report. We do not know what they told the Speaker of the House, the person who's actually responsible for security of the Capitol building. And we do not know the orders from the Speaker of the House before January 6th. We know that she did not accept National Guard troops that were offered by Donald Trump on January 4th. We do know that, but what we don't know is why.
You know, and the question that I have, and I'm sure many have this question, is why is the Republican leadership taking so long to start their own select committee? I understand the dynamics that Pelosi didn't allow McCarthy to appoint certain members, and that kind of set them off a little bit, but why do you think that they're not taking a stronger stance? Because right now they're really getting attacked and they're on defense and they should be on offense.
Well, the problem is, and this is much more internal process, if you're going to have a select committee, then you have to staff it and then you have to have attorneys for it. And that requires funding, and Nancy Pelosi won't agree to the funding. So you're stuck until you have the majority when you can authorize those things. But I think that's something that is definitely coming because all the members have had enough. We're fed up with this. And then the key thing on this, the January 6th committee, there's no cross-examination. There's no ability for them to have to corroborate evidence. They actually choose not to corroborate evidence. Speaking of Steve Bannon said, hey, I'll testify in front of your committee. They refuse to have him come testify now. Why? Because what Steve Bannon will do, he will go in there, he will tell the truth, and he will basically make them look ridiculous. And they don't want no parts of that. So they ignore him, but make sure that he gets prosecuted for ignoring a subpoena.
Okay, thank you so much for your time.
Illegal immigrants bused from Texas to Washington, D.C. were to be sent to Florida. That's according to an email from FEMA. The April 13th email was obtained through the Freedom of Information Act in an investigation by the Heritage Foundation. In the email, a FEMA official wrote that migrants dropped off at the nation's capital without family to pick them up would be put on a train and sent back to Miami. The email also expressed disappointment over the lack of coordination between Texas and D.C. officials about the arrival and drop-off of the buses. When asked about illegal immigrants coming to Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis' office says that the state is obligated to uphold the immigration laws of this country, even if the federal government and other states won't. The Florida governor's office warned illegal immigrants not to come. A coalition of 17 attorneys general is threatening Google with an antitrust investigation. This is if the tech company censors pregnancy crisis centers from search results related to abortion. Pregnancy crisis centers provide resources for women who choose to carry their babies to full term, thereby avoiding abortions. Attorney General Jason Miyares of Virginia and Daniel Cameron of Kentucky are leading the group, which sent a letter to Google last week. The letter asks the tech giant if crisis pregnancy centers are being treated differently in their search results since the overturning of Roe v. Wade. This follows a request by two Democratic lawmakers that Google limit the appearance of pregnancy centers when users search for abortion clinics or abortion pills. United States Congressman Michael Waltz says that the National Guard's COVID-19 vaccine mandate will be crippling to the service. According to Army officials, as many as 62,000 members won't be allowed to partake in their duties because they are unvaccinated. Earlier this month, Army officials said that soldiers who refuse vaccination without an approved or pending exemption request will face official reprimands and barring from service. Congressman Michael Waltz expressed his concern that the military is being depleted by what he says is poor recruitment efforts, woke indoctrination, and the mandates. Waltz said that alongside the diminishing U.S. Army, the U.S. is facing the Chinese regime's military buildup, the Russia-Ukraine conflict, and summer's hurricane and wildfire season.